All right, welcome into another episode of the News4JAGs podcast. Jamal St here alongside Justin Barney. Game one in the books. It was an interesting one.
No victory Monday.
No.
Not at all. Ooh.
No,
Okay.
that one was bad. The way it ended was particularly bad.
Loved what I saw in the first half. What
Okay.
I saw from the defense throughout the game. But, man, the first half, the offense felt just functional. It felt good.
Sure.
I mean, had an unbelievable 96-yard touchdown drive. Had a great drive by Trevor at the end of the first half to get points on the board. Cam Little, big-time field goal, his first in the NFL. I mean, things felt functional. They felt like they were trending in the right direction. And then you follow that up with the second half. You just leave scratching your head like, how did that happen?
It was bad. I mean, you talk about. I liked what Doug Peterson said. It was a tale of two halves, and it was. I mean, realistically, look there was a point in the third quarter where the Jaguars were in the red zone, and it felt like the game was getting ready to be over. And then Travis Etienne fumbles the football. The Dolphins jump on it, and basically it was all spiraling downhill the rest of the way.
14-point swing right there.
At some point, they have to be a team that figures out how to stop the slide and stop a spiral like that one. And, I mean, clearly at this point, they're not there yet.
They're not. And I think it just goes to this is and you try not to overreact. It's week one. It's one game. There's 16 more left. The
sky's not falling.
The Chiefs lost last year to the Lions in week one, right? So it's, again, not trying to make too much out of one loss. But we saw a lot of this Jaguars team in the second half last year. They started 8-3. You forget how to finish. You forget how to close. And you were playing good teams. They had a very strong schedule last year, first place schedule, and you just could not close. You started 8-3, and the issues that we saw on display in the second half yesterday, the inability to run the ball on 3rd and 1, on 4th and 1, bizarre conservative play calling in the second half, the inability for the offensive line to provide some protection on a game-winning drive attempt. I mean, you go tie the game. It's 17-all. You get the ball back, 4 minutes to play.
Yep.
Trevor's got he's got it laid out in front of him. And what happens? Sacked on 3rd down.
Yep.
Sacked on 2nd down. You're in a 3rd and a mile situation. You're sacked on 3rd down.
Yep.
Give him some protection. The first play of the game yesterday, they try a little bootleg kind of thing. Trevor rolls out at the fake handoff, and he's sacked by Calais Campbell. First play of the game. The last 2 plays that were of merit for Jacksonville, sack. Offensive line, an issue last year, has not gotten any better. But I just want to see how the team responds, because we saw this team in the second half yesterday a lot during the second half last season. What is different about this year's Jaguars than the team we saw plummet after 8-3 last year?
What's different?
What's different?
I mean, they had a lead.
They did have a lead. They played well for a half.
That's the best I got.
I thought the defense, I know yardage-wise, it looks like they got just gashed.
Yeah.
But 2 of those plays, one was an 80-yard play to Tyreek. The other one was a 62-yarder to Jalen Waddle. The defense played well enough to win that game this week. They played well enough to beat Miami. They handcuffed the best passer in the NFL last year, Tua. And I know his numbers look good, but Jacksonville just did not do enough offensively. 278 yards yesterday, 12 of 21 passing for Trevor, and that was diluted by 3 critical drops to me, 2 by Christian Kirk, 1 by Evan Ingram. Just a bad, dysfunctional performance all the way around.
It was bad. Yeah, I mean, there's nowhere. There was bad. There was some good, but it was a lot. It was a lot of bad.
Yes.
If you want to see bad, go back, rewatch the game, and just watch the offensive line. The first sack, watch Anton Harrison. On the 4th and 1 play, watch Cam Robinson.
Yeah.
On the 3rd down play, watch Brandon Sheriff.
Yeah.
The 2 offensive linemen that played the best games, Mitch Morris and Ezra Cleveland, and I can unequivocally say that. And I don't think there's an argument from anybody.
No.
And I'm not saying that they played, lights out, but out of the 5 offensive linemen, those were your 2 best.
Yeah.
Everyone else had numerous mistakes.
Right.
I'm not sure some of them blocked anybody the whole day. It was a rough day for the
just
offensive
bad.
line.
And we beat the offensive line drum since before last season started. And they just weren't any better against the Dolphins. And
Still bad.
your 2 bookend tackles, Anton Harrison, finished last year on the ascent, was still one of the worst graded right tackles in the NFL by PFF. Still one of the
went right back down to where he started.
And then you start out yesterday or in week 1 against the Dolphins, and with just that type of performance. I don't want to make too much out of this because it's week 1. The Chiefs lost in week 1 last year. You see what they did. It happens. You lose. You're not going undefeated in the NFL. You didn't pick them to win, so you didn't have faith that they were going to win.
I'm not shaking
this game anyway.
No.
So, but it is disappointing because you saw almost the script turning in that first half.
Yep.
You've got under a minute to play. Trevor marches the team right down the field. You trust rookie kicker Cam Little. Boom, he delivers. Things are going well. Ryan Nielsen's defense just chomping, playing well, handcuffing Tyreek Hill, no pun intended. And what happened in the second half? You get conservative.
Yeah.
You get conservative. You try not to lose instead of play to win. And I think that's what set him apart. 12 of 21 passing for Trevor, 160-ish yards passing. Just pedestrian day. His numbers were hurt by drop passes.
Yes.
And poor blocking. And we've got to see that improve. Got to see it improve.
Look, here's the thing, and kind of where I kind of stand on this. Look, the way they lost is why people feel like this is an edict.
Yep.
Is the sky is falling. It's the same old Jaguars, if you will. It's the way they lost. It's because many of us had already, made up our mind midway through the third quarter. Travis is about to score. This is going to be one of those games. They've ran away with it. This is a 1-0 start to the season. They took down the Dolphins. Didn't happen that way. If I told you on Friday or Saturday, the Jaguars hold the Dolphins to 20 points.
I would have said the Jags win 24-20.
That was the highest scoring offense in the NFL last year.
Leading passer.
The Jaguars got them fully healthy. Tyreek wasn't banged up. Devon Achane's back. Raheem Mostert's there. Tua's there. No injury. They rolled in. The only guy they were missing was Odell Beckham Jr., who's a new addition. You have no idea how much of a role he's going to play. So they had this full-strength offense, held them to 20 points. The defense did their job. Outside of a couple of splash plays where there's room for improvement, big plays are going to happen. At some point, we knew Tyreek Hill was going to pop one. The defense did what they could do. The fault.
Yeah.
The fault is pointing at the offense. That just is what it is. There's a silver lining to it. It's not the silver lining that anybody wants, and there's no moral victories in the whole thing. But the defense was good. The defense was what we expected.
Yes.
They held the Dolphins to 20 points.
Yep.
I don't know. Going into it, I was like, man, if they could hold the Dolphins to under 30, like the Jags got a shot. They held them to 20.
Yeah, 100% agree.
And it took them to the last second to get to 20.
Right, and I think that if you just look statistics alone, you're like, man, Tua threw for 330. That's an unbelievable game by the Dolphins, but it didn't feel like that. A chunk of that came on 2 chunk plays, and there were some issues. I think the busted coverage on the Tyreek play, he's going to get his yardage. He did. I thought Antonio Johnson left a few tackles out on the field. He had a horrendous whiff, and kind of time winding down the second quarter, had a play snuffed in the backfield. He gets missed aside, tackling air, and they end up scoring on that drive. That's a bad play, and of course there was a play to Jalen Waddle, 62 yards, and the Tyreek one. But Jacksonville's defense, I thought, did enough. They made Tua uncomfortable. Trayvon got in there for a couple sacks. I'd like to see more out of Josh, but I think Josh got held a couple times. It wasn't called, and I think he forced a sack. Tua stepped right up into Eric Armstead, and that was solely on the Hines Allen's pressure. But defense played super good in Ryan Nielsen's debut. Plenty enough to win.
You see, Josh Hines Allen doesn't have a sack, and Travon Walker has 2, and he's trying to make excuses, is all I'm hearing.
I know. I've got to tag Jamal on social media every time there's a Trayvon sack or a Josh sighting, but in our unofficial bet, it's 2-0 now, Trayvon. I did. I just
tweeted. This is a start. You did.
I mentioned this yesterday.
Sack day to start the year.
Yeah. And I almost forgot his first one, but I asked Trayvon in training camp about his Madden. If he's a video game guy and said he liked Madden. I said, you're only a 78 this year. That's pretty, number one pick in the draft a few years ago. And you're 78? Wow, that's pretty bad. And he got a little bit chafed and bristled a little bit. And he said, yeah, just wait. I'm going to show you guys on the field that I'm more than a 78. And he started out. He's on pace for 34.
2 sacks. Look, I think there were some bright spots. It's bad how they lost.
Yes.
Unexcusable. I think they would 100% agree with that. They have to find a way to win that game. But the bright spots, Trayvon Walker, 2 sacks. This is a guy who's going into another year. They need him to take that next step. This is a big year for him. He's already off the 2-sack start, which one of them sacks, the offensive lineman was like, on his heels from the. I mean, he just moved the human.
He tacked him like with a sweep the leg and helmet tackle.
Man,
Really good.
Travon Walker had 2 sacks for you, which was good. Brian Thomas Jr. first touchdown pass, and I mean, pretty good catch too. I mean, a hell of a throw from Trevor, but that was a great play by Brian Thomas Jr. He had a nice day. So you saw that. You saw Tank Bigsby have maybe his best day as a pro.
Absolutely.
I mean, he popped some runs for you. You feel like you have a guy that can be that second running back,
And
that can be that tag
just
team.
Pop a run. When Jacksonville, 2 of his biggest runs were with them in
backed
the
up.
shadow of their goalpost.
Right.
You're just trying to get out of 2 or 3 yards to get out of the shadows.
Mm-hmm.
And he, I mean, unreal. His first carry of the game was
Popped it.
unbelievable.
Yep.
I mean, that's what you want to. That's what we saw from Tank in training camp, in preseason, and he's continued. So many bright spots yesterday, but it is difficult to look at those with the second half of that game.
Right.
And, I mean, it's the same old stuff in the offense. You got to get better.
Look, the offense has to figure it out. At some point, there's a flow issue. I understand. I don't think they got overly conservative. I mean, I was sitting there watching the game. I'm saying, your 4-minute offense is your 4-minute offense. They got the ball back. You mentioned it. 4 minutes to go. If you look up the definition of a 4-minute offense, it is slow and steady down the field, which includes a heavy dose of running the ball.
Right.
I have no problem with the play calls that I was seeing. You had the lead. You have the time on the clock. If they dialed it up, and let's just say, okay, 4 minutes left, they get the ball, Trevor drops a bomb, 80 yards, Brian Thomas Jr. touchdown, they hand the ball back to Tua, and the Dolphins go right down the field and score. We're still sitting here. Why'd they score so fast? There's give and take. There's no in between. It's either you try and chew up the clock, it didn't work, or you try and take shot plays, which probably at the rate they were going might not have worked either. So, I mean, all they would have done was given the Dolphins the ball back with more time.
Yeah.
So
two bright spots, 2 down spots for you.
Down spots are offensive line. Does that also encompass the short yardage running game? Because that is the lowest of low. I don't understand. I just don't. I'm at the point where 3rd and 1 seems like
punt the ball away.
I mean, just throw it.
It's embarrassing. It's embarrassing.
I mean, you try and hand the ball off on 3rd and 1, and there's a guard 2 yards the wrong direction.
Yes.
So, I mean, everybody pointed the finger at Luke Fortner. Luke Fortner standing on the sideline
Right.
like, just like, it wasn't just me.
Yes.
Like, I mean, that was 3rd and 1. Then a 4th and 1, I mean, man, the best block on that play might have come from Trevor Lawrence.
Exactly. That was
It might have come from Trevor Lawrence.
I didn't like the play call. You pitch it to the short side of the field. He's hemmed in almost immediately. You're trying to reverse course. Effort play by Travis. He wasn't going to get the first down. I mean, you can't fault him for the lost yardage there. Not the best play call. Terrible execution more than anything. And I just don't like, and I said it yesterday, I don't like on a 4th and 1 play where you've already been stuffed going straight up the middle, you do a pitch out and you're already 3 yards behind the line of scrimmage when you can't even get a yard. Not a fan of it.
I understand why I mean, basically he was telling you, I don't think we can get the yard up the middle. 3rd and 1 didn't work. I don't think we can get it up the middle. That's what that play call tells you, right?
You start taking a shot to throw it on 4th down, 3rd and 1 now, instead of trying to run it. You've shown you can't do that.
Man.
And it's carrying over from one year to the other.
3rd and 1, at some point, try and naked boot Trevor out and give him one of those this or that, RPO. Either it's the short pass to the tight end right there in the flat, or he tucks it and gets it himself.
All right,
I mean, at some point.
So your diminished dim spots yesterday are the offensive line and then the short yardage.
I mean, look, I thought the pass blocking wasn't completely awful. I mean, I've seen worse for Trevor. It wasn't great, but definitely a lot of the offensive execution are my down spot. I mean, the offensive line is the biggest down spot of them all for me.
Same. All right, so bright spot for you before we wrap up?
Bright spot would be the defense as a whole.
I agree. I like the dim spots for me.
Yeah.
Your veterans, Evan Ingram, Christian Kirk, struggled yesterday.
Yep.
3 third down passes, 2 by Christian that were dropped and 1 by Evan that were dropped. Those are my down spots yesterday. Of course, the turnovers, another story in the offensive line for me. My bright spots, I love Ryan Nielsen's defense, and I like the no turnovers by Trevor Lawrence when he got hit. He got sacked. He held on to the ball. But my other bright spot's Tank Bigsby.
All right, one game in the books. Jaguars are 0-1. Next game's at home at the Bank against the Cleveland Browns. We're going to be tailgating over at the Slab with a whole nice setup and doing some of it on TV. Come check us out over there. Hey, thanks for hanging out with us on this News4JAGs podcast. We'll have another one talking a little bit more about Cleveland coming your way later this week, and we will see you next time.